Welcome to Poz Vibe Podcast, a podcast for HIV positive people, their friends, family and allies. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Veda, we are back in our favourite place, our favourite recording studios.
In the playground.
In the playground.
Ready to play, baby.
And I think we're with some of our favourite people in the whole entire world.
Yeah, it's a family affair here today. It's tribe only.
It is tribe only. And I don't think I have opened my phone in the last 2 months and have not seen your faces plastered everywhere. You two are just complete stars, Lewis and Jordi. How are you?
We're good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. We are just so happy to have you back in the Poz Vibe. You've been such intricate or integral. No, what's the word?
Integrated.
No, that's not the word. Well, you're such a big part of the Poz Vibe tribe since we began.
Let's go with gorgeous.
And
You're such a gorgeous part of the Poz Vibe tribe.
You are.
Yeah.
Gorgeous and beautiful. And now just seeing the superstardom and the change you've made in Ireland and even in the tribe, it's just been sensational. So we're so happy to have you back.
Yeah, because you're both part of the You, Me and HIV campaign that we're doing with the HSC, important parts of it. And you both also have a project coming up, a film.
Yes, so you are 2/3 of the Out of Shadows cast. Yeah, I know. So we're going to get all into that a little bit later. But first, for the people who haven't listened to your podcast episodes a few years ago now, do you want to kind of just reintroduce yourselves and a bit about your HIV story? So Lewis, we'll start off with you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, babies. I am honored and pleased. It's like always a dream to be able to have a chat about what I've been doing with my life or what's been happening. I came out as a HIV positive gay man, if you want to call it, in the podcast in 2021, a few years ago. And it really changed my entire world. My mental health, my life in general. I never thought I was going to be able to say publicly to anyone. I kept that secret for so long. Never said it to anyone, never said it to my friends. My family kind of made me keep it only between us without saying it to anyone either. So for me to be able to, come to a different country and speak in a different language about my HIV story and the whole kind of journey, it's been incredible. It's been amazing. If I can take one thing out of all of this, is being the amount of immigrants, more so Latin American immigrants, coming to me to kind of like thank me for saying things about what it is to be a Latin American person living with HIV, and also thanking for being open and vulnerable, because back home it's a little bit harder for us still to fight against stigma. There's there are a lot of different people doing activism on social media and that kind of thing. But when you go out on the streets, when you go to your workplace, it's not easy to say, I'm a HIV positive person. I need to take my medication. I need to go to my consultation, etc., etc., etc. So it's very important for us, especially for me, to be a Latin American immigrant of color living in Ireland and being able to have this platform to say things or positive things about what it is to be a positive person as well.
You're such a fabulous role model for lots of people, and I'm already tearing up. I knew this would happen today. It's just the love, really. But I remember when we started the podcast, you were literally one of the first people to come to us, to support us, to be a guest. And the fact that you came out that way was so powerful and so special. Thank you.
No, thank you. I woke up that Friday. I remember it was Friday morning, 7 a.m. I still remember it. And all the messages from my really close friends, like people that I know for over 20 years. It was overwhelming. It was scary, terrifying at the same time. But I was like, you're never ready for this journey to start. I'm like, when I text you to be able to be part of the podcast, or to maybe have a chat, or be like, can I help you with some sort of whatever, post-production, production, anything? And then telling my story on it. And then you're never ready. You're never prepared for people saying the things I say or the reactions or anything. So it's been really great. It's been incredible.
The love can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because we're all expecting the negative. And when you get just loads of love from the community and from your friends at home or, friends here in Ireland, it's we know so many people, it takes a while to kind of digest, you know?
Yeah.
What really struck for me, because you were born in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And I remember just kind of stark contrast of the realities of living with HIV in Venezuela, and, you know, even just the price of getting a HIV test in Venezuela. That has always stuck with me when we think about, like, you know, health equity. But before we came on, I wanted a refresher of what life is like in Venezuela. And I think it's important when we talk about migrants living with HIV to be like what this story is and how we can thrive here and how we should fight for everyone around the world. So there's around 90,000 people living with HIV in Venezuela, out of a population of around 28 million. But in 2016, because of this whole health collapse, health systems collapse and economic collapse, only around 16% of people were getting access to treatment. HIV treatment disruptions are a very everyday thing for people living with HIV. In 2006, I think it was 19, you know, you had around 6,000 new HIV cases, but we're not picking up everyone if no one can afford to get tested in Venezuela. Around 1,500 people died of AIDS in this day and age when they shouldn't have to. Now in 2019, you know, you do have dolutegravir and we do have better access, but there's an exodus of people leaving Venezuela because of course they want to survive, of course they want to get access to the best healthcare. And then there's stigma, which is rife, and that's always rife when there's not much access to healthcare too, or a level of education. So the fact that you've made Ireland your home, you have access to treatment, and straight away you wanted to try and make Ireland a better and safer and happier place for people living with HIV here. We are just so lucky to have you and have you as part of the Poz Vibe tribe.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure people at home in Venezuela think the exact same too.
Thank you so much. It's the numbers that you mentioned, the figures are insane. You can't really calculate them because the government has all that kind of like under their
radar.
They're not really giving that much of information to people. And there are many elements, you know, even if you have never been tested before and you live in a rural area, the possibilities for you to get tested are even harder. You need to travel for an hour or two to get to the closest kind of like a lab, kind of like hospital, public hospital, medical care. And so there are many other elements that like influence that kind of situation, on top of like the lack of medication, of course, the lack of investment, the infrastructure as well. People is terrified to go to a hospital in Venezuela. One of the hardest things, or one of the biggest fears for all of us, is to end up in a hospital and having to stay there by yourself. It's not like here. You know, if you go to the hospital, you know that someone is gonna kind of look after you. If you have to stay overnight or 2 nights, or you have to stay there for longer. Over there, it's like you need to bring a mattress, if not a bed, bedwear, pillows, every single thing that people is going to use, all the medical, surgical material. People have to bring all of this. We went last year, me and Kieran, to Venezuela. My husband, we were visiting holidays, right? We wanted to go to the beach. That's all what we wanted to do. Enjoy our time over there, but then we had to go to the hospital because my cousin was getting a surgery, and it was like my only time to see him. I couldn't see him before, he was away. And when we were stepping into the hospital, I literally told him, just don't stare at any of the things that you're going to see in this kind of place. This is not like a hospital that you know. Like, we walked in and the light was flashing, like people on the floor. Many things. It's very, very, very intense to end up in a hospital in Venezuela. So it's like those kind of things are also a huge part of why people don't get tested. They like stay away from it. If you're sick, you're sick.
They think ignorance is bliss. They're not going to go in for anything like prevention or anything because they want to stay away. Do you think, Lewis, on that point, because we're talking about migrant health here in Ireland too, coming from those backgrounds, which is quite similar in many low and middle income countries right around the world, do you think that's a barrier for people to access like STI services? If you're a recent migrant in Ireland, you're like, well, I don't know how I'll be treated in these STI clinics. Do you think that's a kind of thought process?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I when I came here, I spent 1 year without going to the hospital, without taking treatment. I was terrified. I didn't want people to tell me anything. You don't know how the health care system is going to be, or if you're going to be treated right, if you're going to be given out for being an immigrant, and where are you coming here with this? You want us to look after you. That kind of feeling, that kind of, nobody says this to you, but you feel that kind of thing. As an immigrant, you also think these type of things. And it's a different for being a European immigrant is a different situation than being a Latin American immigrant. You carry things with you, a lot of stereotypes. And
you bring the exotic diseases, right? Which is around. It's it's insane. It's bollocks. Me and Veda and Jordi and Lewis are all here to tell anyone listening who lives with HIV and is a migrant, you are loved, adored. Go get tested. It's nothing they haven't seen before, and they treat you with the respect and dignity you deserve. Do not allow your migrancy to affect, or your HIV status to affect your access to healthcare.
If you're terrified of going, send us a message and we'll go with you.
Yes.
We'll, me and Jordi, we've done it before.
We're always up for that.
Yeah.
We've done it before. We can have a chat, give you an orientation of what to do. You can get it all online. You don't need to, show yourself or your face if you wanted to. But do it.
Yeah. Your experience, Jordi, was very different in Barcelona, of course. And there are great sexual health services and queer services in Barcelona. That's my understanding anyway. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Actually, in some areas, I think that it's even better than Ireland because overall PrEP and PEP, right now it's more accessible. Now, things didn't used to be like this some years
they
ago.
give PrEP out like Skittles there in Barcelona, don't they? Like, here you go, freshen your breath.
It's actually now staged to a moment that you don't even need to go through the doctor to get PrEP anymore. Like, you can just show in the pharmacy and after some questions, you just get the PrEP, which I think it's amazing if it's safe. Now, it didn't used to be like this when I got diagnosed. I got diagnosed when I was 18. The story goes that I was diagnosed for HIV while they were trying to actually diagnose me of something else, which was my Crohn's disease. I was having an immunosuppressive system due to some medications, and then I was having symptoms and flare-ups because of my Crohn's. And we didn't know what was it. Like, we know it was an IBS, an IBD, but we didn't know which. And while the doctors were trying to find out, they found out that I had HIV. And I was only 18.
Wow.
So, and back on that moment, PrEP was not even accessible. It was even illegal. So I'm glad that things have changed up so much. But my diagnosis of HIV was actually given by a doctor through the phone, and by that time the doctors weren't required by law to know what undetectable equals untransmittable mean. So the doctor that gave me the diagnosis didn't know about that. She was working in another area, and she just told me through the phone and limited to tell me that I will have around 2 years of good life or so. And yeah, that was it. But then I remember I was living with a queer friend in the Gaixampla. It's like the gay quarter. And my housemate actually came and said, look, don't listen to that person because it's likely that she's wrong. Like, I'm not very expert on this, but just 3 streets away from here, there is this sexual health clinic that it's run by people that live with HIV, and I'm sure that they will know how to address this. And he was totally right. After 2 days, I went there and they got me tested for everything. And I was very afraid because it was HIV and Crohn's at the same time. And I was only 18. And I was just recruited for an airline, and it was the job of my life. And I was thinking to drop the offer. I was thinking to turn it away because, like, I thought, okay, I speak Spanish, English, Catalan, and I don't have even much work experience because I was still a kid. And now I get this job offer, which is amazing. It's what I've always dreamt for, but I'm going to move into a new country with people that I don't know, language that I don't know.
Yeah.
When I just got these 2 diagnoses. But the doctors really reassured me, and they told me, look, don't worry, you're going to be grand. And look, you got tested today. Unfortunately, it's positive, but in 1 week from now, you will start treatment. And in 3 months from now, if not less, you will be undetectable. And they were absolutely right. they encouraged me not to turn away that offer from this Ireland that I really loved. I moved to Sweden, then Denmark, and then Iceland. And well, since then, I've always been undetectable. I never stopped being undetectable. But in all of this time, I was inside of the closet in these terms. Like, I didn't tell anyone about my HIV. My parents knew at the beginning, and it was a shock for them. But Ireland was the first country where I lived after emigrating from country to country that I decided to come out. And well, at first I just did an Instagram post, and I didn't thought it will have like lot of. I didn't thought that people would be that interested, if you know. But it I was wrong.
They read it. They read everything.
Yeah, they were actually very interested about it. And then I started doing activism, and I joined you actually on the first season. And that for me was like coming out again.
Because you met a crone with HIV.
Yeah. It's not the same just posting on Instagram a post and explaining about how you feel and how things like, than actually having a tribe that hosts a podcast and has a community tribe. And then we can discuss, and from there I could learn more. Because for me, up until that moment, HIV was not as bad as in Venezuela. Thankfully, I'm very lucky. But it was so mechanical. It's just so comfortable to take a pill, and you never think about it. And there is a huge background and history behind it. So I only learned that through you, through the tribe. And when I started doing activism and started learning more, it's not just taking a pill every day. There is, just because we found all of this work done, doesn't mean that like there was a lot of history and work behind, and not everyone is benefiting from this. In Venezuela, it's not happening. In Ireland, it's not as it should to access PrEP and PEP. There are, like, my housemate actually just told me that he got called from St. Vincent's to get his PrEP appointment after 2.5 years.
Wow,
So-
the lucky guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the lucky ones.
He actually got chosen after
Yeah.
that long. It's insane. Like,
It's
why should
shocking.
rich people be able to afford PrEP privately, but people who don't have that disposable income get HIV?
One of the things I'm surprised is that when I talk to my friends in Barcelona and my doctors, and I ask them about this, they told me, well, it's just so cheap to produce because it's a medicine that has been on the market for so many years, so we can produce it locally with local pharmacies, and it's only €6 to produce. So this is why, and it's also very safe. So we don't think there is a need for the patient to actually see a doctor to get the PrEP. If they can just answer some questions to the pharmacist, and then they can get it, it's less infections, and it worked because let's say the year I got diagnosed was like the peak one, and then PrEP and PEP were legalized in Catalonia, and like the numbers dropped drastically from 1 year to another, and now almost all of my friends are on PrEP, and they don't pay anything at all, or they pay €6-7, and it's amazing.
Do you hear this? Listen up, this camera.
Yeah.
Listen up.
The National Sexual Health Strategy, they're talking about increasing access to PrEP, but there are gatekeepers saying that you have to get PrEP in a certain way when we don't have the infrastructure to give it a certain way. In Catalonia, they hand them out in community pharmacists. Why are we not thinking outside the box? Why are we not thinking about different modalities of giving PrEP to people who need it, so we can eventually and finally stop new HIV infections in this country?
Kudos,
So-
Mama, for saying
So there
that.
we go. Thank you,
Kudos,
Jordi,
Mama.
for showing us this is best practice. But in Ireland, we're always a few years behind. So that's why community voices coming together, giving anecdotes for what works in different countries, and say, why aren't we doing it in Ireland, rather than having someone wait 2.5 years to gain access to basic preventative healthcare.
And what was crazy for me when we were at World Pride in Sydney, there was a PrEP pop-up clinic on Oxford Street, which just blew my mind.
How much
You know?
fun would it be to be
a
at that prep
pop-up?
out, give it a people?
Yeah,
There you go, get the
so-
right girl.
So good. Or maybe PEP more so, but
Yeah.
but a pop-up, so people who found themselves partying or, feeling that they needed to to have some kind of intervention could just get it, regardless whether they were tourists or had health insurance.
We should have a doxy pep pop up. Anyways, these are all things we can talk about in the future.
A doxy pop.
A doxy pop. But, you know, I really love your story because I think it really segues into what your life is like now and how coming out and being so visible has changed everything. Because when you were first diagnosed, Jordi, you were saying you were told you'd have 2 years of a good life, even though we knew the signs of you because you, just that particular doctor, didn't. Now you two are the face of it, like literally a nationwide you, me and HIV, you, because you campaign. Like, how does that feel?
Amazing.
I'm so lucky and honored, like, to be part of all of this. It literally helped me in lots of moments that I was a bit low, and the community lifted me up, whether if it was for World Aids Day or the Pride or just recording a session. It feels like you belong to, especially when you're immigrant.
Yeah.
It's not like we just like you with your HIV.
Yeah.
And that is great. And my experience here has been amazing. I came out from HIV during the pandemic in a moment that was very weird. I didn't know, like, people were inside of home. And when I arrived in Ireland, I didn't actually have enough medicines for me. That was before the pandemic. What I'm saying is that the pandemic hit and I ran out of HIV medicines, and I made the decision not to return to Barcelona because I didn't thought it was a good idea to spend the COVID pandemic at my parents' house.
Smart move.
Yes. But then I just went to an A&E and they explained my situation and they sorted me out. And then things came naturally. I was very reassured, not only for my HIV, but for my Crohn's. They arranged so that I could have my visit at my IVD unit at St. James Hospital, which they are great. I love the Guide Clinic and I love the IVD unit. So, and now I have my family supporting me with all this activism. So I have everything that I needed and even more. Thank you.
And how about you, Lewis? How do you feel about the campaign?
It overwhelming as well. Like that was out on Pride, and we went out, and our circle of friends. You never know if they're like informed, if they know about U equals U, if they know about these situations. Most of our friends are bisexual, artsy kids coming out, just finishing college, doing pottery and plastic arts and stuff. So photography, they're like very arts related orientated. It's a beautiful queer community. And then we went out with them and seeing the reaction of so many of them from different ages, from different kind of like sections. So for me that was really important to see that the information was getting to that kind of community, which is you never know if they were like aware or not.
I love it because you're cool. As well. I just want to give you both props, but because you're cool. Like you're seen, your friends are cool. You and Kieran are so cool and stylish and creative. And I always talk about the beautiful weapons that we have to destroy stigma, and it's a great example of that. Yeah. You have just been Trojan champion in this campaign.
It melted my heart to see you both. You are very cute. I love you so much.
Thank you. It's very important as well for him too. For me, it was really important to see his point of view, whatever he had to say, because we don't really talk about it at home. Like we just, discussing what's for dinner, if it's chicken or beef. Basically, not really talking about HIV or what do you think or how do you feel about all this activism. But it was really important for me to see his point of view, how he sees it, the way that he interacts with people was like, saying beautiful things to him. I'm like, right, he's like involved as well in his own way.
Yeah.
But
it was quite an intense moment because when we were filming, it was like a studio like this, but it was just one chair and then a whole entourage of people filming. And we're like, how did you feel when you first came out? It was very like raw, wasn't it? Very authentic. And you didn't plan in what you were saying before you went in. So you could, it translates into really just loving and authenticity, and it really translates when you look at it.
Well, Kieran killed it though as well, didn't he? Like he stole the show.
He did. He did. I actually got him like, I think you really killed it here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were thinking about if you planned this line or two, but like you killed it it's just getting to people's hearts. And
stop. I'm going to go off. I want to say you mean the world to me, but even trying to say it just chokes me up. It's so romantic.
It is, isn't
Your
it?
video performed incredibly well online, you know, and people just, there's all of these crying and loving and heart emojis. Nothing sad about it, just beautiful,
It's just,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Jordi and Felipe, I just think your friendship just shines through, and the power of like what it is to be able to lean on someone.
Yeah.
And not only lean on someone, have great crack when you do it and look gorgeous doing it. Every different story gives a different facet of what it is to not only live with HIV but thrive with HIV. And I just think your tone changers, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love you and Felipe's video because it reminds me of us. It's about friendship.
Yeah, you're a much younger version of us.
But friendship can just be the best part of this journey and this activism. And can we have a special shout out for if an ocean couldn't separate us, what's a tiny thing like HIV gonna do?
When Caro said that to Tiago, I think I dream about that every day. It was like, oh my God.
I'm like, if I'm going to weep, I'm just going to fully go there. But the campaign is so beautiful, and it makes me so proud that you guys
Part of it.
just pulled it together so beautifully.
Yeah.
And also the representation
Yeah.
of migrants in this, and the diversity and vibrancy. One of the main cohorts that we just weren't hearing from at once upon a time are now leaders in the response.
Women and migrants.
Women and migrants.
Yeah.
They're what's changing the game in Ireland, and we're all just so lucky.
I always say that the best from Ireland is Irish woman. Like, I love Irish woman and I
Thank
love
you.
immigrants.
I really think that your video with Felipe had a really important impact in the younger generation, the queer younger generation that we see nowadays, without any judgment, being influenced by the use of substances. And I feel like for people to see other people that can talk about it, can mention it, can say it in a way that is like, just take control of what you're doing, what you're taking. We're not judging you. It's just like, we're here to show you that there are other ways to thrive, right? I think it's very important for us to mention this chemsex situation and pandemic, if you want to call it, in a way, is taking over. And we see so many of our friends, people that we met before, people that we know, hookups, whatever you want to call it, people that you've seen once or twice, getting lost in it. And out of, like, we're not trying to judge it. It's more like an invitation to take a little bit of control on what you're doing related to that specific thing, which is taking substances for sex. So
I really like that we could actually mention that. It was important. I always say that we survive HIV, but we don't survive chemsex. I personally loved somebody that was very important in my life and passed away because of a drug overdose. And since then, I have lost other friends that maybe they lost their money, their family, their friends. It's the new pandemic. So I always say people survive HIV, but they don't survive chemsex. And it's affecting the community.
The other day, around a few months ago, this only brought it up. I knew a person who passed away, and he was so young, so flamboyant, and so gorgeous. I used to always go on nights out with him, and he'd passed away, and his friend found him, and it was horrible. The real shock to us, I only found out a few months ago, it was from a G overdose.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it's crisis mode, and so why these conversations need to be brought into the light, and that's why I think the video is so important. And also shout out to the HSC campaigns team who really let community lead. They did no censorship. Aina and Mirren, we love you, and all the whole team. But because these are topics that are important to the community, because we see how they affect the community, so let's bring them to a wider population to have these conversations. Shame-free and judgment-free.
That's the most. That's the hardest thing for me. It's like, what else can we say for them to be aware? For them, I say, like, for us in general, the queer community, the people that goes to sex parties, the people that gathers for fun. What else can we say for them to be a little bit more aware? We're not saying not to take it. I mean,
yeah,
it's
we
like
acknowledge
2025.
it's gonna happen anyway. I was very glad to see the HSC taking this seriously and allowing us to actually take action on it, right? I loved lots of the videos that looked very romantic and cute. Like it showed people, if you live with HIV, you can have a normal life, you can have a partner, you can have a husband and marry and live a normal life. Because I even had people reaching out to me telling me, this is real, like I have HIV and I'm afraid of passing HIV to others. I just want to date somebody that lives with HIV. And then I had to step in and tell them, look, actually, if you're under treatment, you're not gonna pass the infection to the others, right? So you're entitled to date everyone basically because you are safe. And I liked the ad that we did with Felipe because there were lots of couples that were showing their life together, whereas Felipe and me are just friends and the vibe is just different. It's not that romantic in that sense. We are friends. We are fighters, and we are going to parties and we're having fun. And it's all right whether if you're having a husband or a boyfriend, or either if you have an open relationship or you're just friends, you can still have fun, go to parties. We just look for each other, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. An invitation to look out for each other.
Yes.
Basically. Yeah. It's not even an invitation to not do drugs. But I feel like also, now that you mentioned that, for a lot of people, the fact of like seeing another gay couple, a couple of the same sex, for so many people, they feel like they will never get to that. A lot of people feel loneliness, and that's it for them. A lot of people don't really feel that they want to find this other person that is going to match their energy, that are going to be able to do all these things together. So it's also important to have, the couples, their love, their relationship is happening, it's possible, but it's also important to have these single men that are not in a relationship, that are out every weekend doing whatever they like. There's a representation for them too. Do you get me?
And HIV can be very isolating. Yeah. And what's wonderful, I think, about the whole campaign is that we really show that it doesn't have to be at all. Yeah. And what's so wonderful about the tribe, why am I so emotional today, is that we're all really good friends. And that is the most important thing. Everything starts there. Yeah. Speaking of friends, we have friends that you made a film with. Yeah. Very good friends, Pradeep and Pratik. The film is called Out of Shadows, and we're going to be having an incredibly glamorous premiere on World AIDS Day in Trinity College, okay?
Amazing.
So I have a little quote here about the film from Pradeep Mahadeshwar, who is the director and producer of the film. And the film is part of a visual art project called New Irish Queerness, which is investigating the contemporary sense of Irish queer identity, which is diverse and vibrant, as we know. You both are one of three. There's three of you from the tribe, I'm trying to say. Of course, our dear friend Pratik as well. He was here on our last episode, Pratik Bardwaj, to tell us about his story. But we want to hear more about yours. And Pradeep has given me a quote for each of you to inspire you.
I love it. Oh my God.
So we'll start with you, Lewis. And it's a quote of yours from the movie that you're going to explain to us. And the quote says, "There are many who got lost on the journey, who never got a chance to tell their story. This is for them."
I just want to thank Pradeep. Honestly, we worked together in Shameless, directed by Stephen Fay, Stephen Quinn, an icon, a legend.
An icon.
Another icon.
A fairy queen.
Who put us together in this beautiful project that happened during the pandemic. And since we met, since we watch each other's video performance kind of thing, we were like, we need to do something. There's something we need to be doing. I don't know what it is. Until last year. No, this year actually. Earlier this year. That he was like, I got this idea. Let's do it together. Let's just tell your story of an immigrant living with HIV, and we see how we go from there. So I came up with this idea of a performance that I did when I was 8 years old, called Diablos Danzantes, the Dancing Devils of a region, right, in Venezuela. There are many. dancing devils of different regions, but like we, selected the whole kind of concept, and I show him photos, and be like, I did this when I was 8 years old. I don't know if it kind of makes sense, if you want to include it or something. Well, like literally 10 minutes after, he sent me a full conceptualization of how important it is to be doing some sort of like that performance, and related it to migration and queerness and the Catholic Church and power and access to medication and all that kind of thing. So we put it all together, and we hope you like it. Actually, I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I am too.
I'm doing a little bit of dancing as well, so we'll see how it goes. I've never done that before.
A little bit of hip hop.
A little bit like the traditional dancing of the thing. It was just the whole thing. I went ham.
Great. And tell us about the quote.
The quote. The quote. It's just almost impossible for me to not mention the people that is really struggling back home, basically, and the people that will struggle because of the whole situation that we know that is happening globally. So it's just so important to be here today and leave some sort of legacy for other people that comes after. And very important that legacy is remembering and always having present the people that we lost, that couldn't survive, that couldn't stay here today with us. Also, there is a lot of mention and references to colonization in my performance in the movie, and it's because I feel like that's just the result of the many issues that we have today. It was 800 years in Ireland. It was 500 years in Latin America. We're living the consequences of that.
American imperialism.
Yeah, we're still decolonizing ourselves and this whole space of HIV as well through art, which is amazing. Jordi, I have a quote for you as well. Jordi, this is your words, not mine. I flew between time zones and strangers' lives, always landing, never arriving. Dublin is my home, not because of a postcode, but because of friends there who call me gorgeous when I forget. You're killing me today.
So gorgeous. First question. When do you ever forget that you're gorgeous? Come on. There's mirrors around the place.
I have had very low times when my ex-partner passed away because of this, that I wasn't feeling gorgeous. It was all in my head most of the time, but I had lots of insecurities, and then I was thinking if maybe I wasn't, I don't know, good enough and gorgeous enough. And then I had my mama remembering me how gorgeous I was, like in messages and in person, and it just made me feel special again in moments that I really needed, and that people don't have the notion of how severe it was for me. In that quote, I was a cabin crew before. I arrived in Ireland being a cabin crew, a flight attendant, and I have worked for 3 different airlines for 6 years, living in Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, Madrid, Barcelona. So this is what I'm saying, like always landing but never quite arriving. In some of these countries, I lived for a very short period of time. Denmark and Sweden, because I was living in Malmö, and in Denmark I was living in Copenhagen. We could say that it's not the same country, but almost, because it was only 1 hour away. So I could say that I lived there for 1 year and something, and Iceland, same. Iceland, I lived there for 1 year and a half. Then I went to Madrid. I'm Catalan, okay? So I think that Madrid is not my country. I'm independentist, and I lived there for 9 months. Again, it wasn't for me. There is a reason why I landed in Ireland, and why I decided to stay more time than the others. I had lots of times and chances that I could have used them to say I'm leaving, because I was laid off by 2 technological companies. My partner passed away. The COVID pandemic happened in the opposite order, okay? Like it was...
Strike it, reverse it.
Yeah.
Still traumatic.
Catalan. And there is a link with Ireland and Catalonia. Our language has been oppressed. I'm glad that in Catalonia it's not as lost as it's the Irish here, but there is a cultural and historic link, and I felt that very quickly. And well, that connection was important for sure, but again, as the quote says, because of the friends. When I was working as a cabin crew in all of these countries, I didn't get to spend as much time there. When I was living in Iceland, possibly I was working 1 or 2 days a week, and the rest I didn't work. But I was traveling so much. I was spending more time traveling, maybe in the States or in Spain, than I was actually spending time in my own apartment in these countries. In Ireland, these things change, because I was laid off from this Ireland that I cannot name, and because of the pandemic, okay, which is understandable, I understand. And then I stayed and I made friendships, but the most important thing was that the 99% of the friendships I made were from the community. So 99% of my friends were from the community, and a part of them were living with HIV. And then some of them told me when they found out that I had no issue on recognizing, and some others didn't. But that made those bonds even stronger. So yeah, this is the reason why I decided to stay here, despite everything, despite the pandemic and the rain. And
despite the rain, stayed.
I mean, it wasn't as bad as in Iceland, at least. But
fair enough.
But I loved the friendship I made. It took me time to make those friendships, but it's the reason why I stayed, and I love it. So that's where.
And we love you. Great community.
You're
wherever
such
you
a
can
great
go.
friend as well, Jordi. You're an incredibly thoughtful friend, and I think everybody who's close to you knows that. Very thoughtful, very caring, and you're very popular in our tribe.
And you're gonna see how beautiful the filming with Jordi was. It's just romantic, beautiful, poetic, Catalan, red roses, jockstraps.
Ooh.
I mean, you guys, it's
Sounds great.
Beautiful. You have to see it.
Do you know what? I shout out to Pradeep because this is part of his visual arts project, New Irish Queerness, which shows the diversity and the vibrancy of the Irish queer community, and you represent it so well. And what we really like about Pradeep's project and what you represent in it is that, just like kind of like our work with HIV, we want marginalized voices not to be the same old trope of the sad person overcoming adversity and being resilient. That Pradeep said this to us, and it strikes me in the heart, but it says this project needs an optimistic beating heart underneath marginalized voices, and I think it's going to be represented so beautifully in this. So we're going to have to wrap up. We're going to have to wrap up on that beautiful note, but hearing your stories, I could not be more excited to see this piece of art, and it's only in a few months' time, Veda.
Yes, very, very glamorous premiere vibes in Trinity College on the 1st of December. I think around 7 o'clock. We'll be having drinks, we'll be walking the red carpet, and we'll be watching the film twice because it's only 12 minutes long. So
we'll watch it a few times, a few shots every time you say HIV.
We'll have a panel discussion featuring you guys and, of course, Pradeep and Pratik. We're hosting this event. It's a Poz Vibe and GCN production, and tickets will be available soon. Can't wait.
Before we end, because we all love tops in this room, and we're visual now.
Well,
can you
the
best. Can you show us your T-shirt? I really want to see.
Going to Transliberate.
Transliberation. Oh, Liberato.
I thought it said transliver. Me too.
And nothing compares to you equals you.
It was done by my boyfriend Sam, so thank you.
Do you have a boyfriend, Jordi?
Yes.
Do you want to say hi?
Which of them? I have many.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm going to say hi to Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Sam.
It was like when I saw it printed, like it was our idea some years ago for the march that we were marching for Pride, and then he saw like these pictures, and he said, I'm gonna do something about it. And when I saw this, like,
It's
I freaked out.
gorgeous.
I fell in love with him when I saw this. There's nothing more that
Ah,
Get yourself a man who gives you Sinead O'Connor merch. I love
he's
it.
non-binary.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but he's like a lesbian do-it-yourself.
Oh, yeah.
He does everything.
Well, that's right. We love that. Okay, thank you so much,
yeah,
Jordi
because
and
nothing
Lewis.
compares to you.
Yeah,
It
we
was
love
you
you.
two.
Thank you
So
for having
that's it
us.
from us today.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this week's or watching this week's episode of the Poz Vibe podcast. And remember to stay powerful.
And stay positively positive.
Woohoo!
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Poz Vibe podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, show us you care by leaving a review wherever you listen. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Poz Vibe podcast for all the latest news and updates.